forgot his name for a second there. God, what's the guy who does the music? Hello and welcome to Crackcast number 299. We're getting to the big 300 very soon, which is going to be next week, and we're hopefully going to have a big group Crackcast. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. But for this one, we're doing Tanta's subject, which is the let me get this right because I don't want to be okay. Self-insertion of character self-insertion. Jesus, what's the best way to say this? Self-insertion of characters. So you insert yourself into a character that you create in a story.
Firmly insert yourself.
Damn it.
There's no way you can walk away from this. So it's like I designed it especially for that purpose.
Oh God. Tanta's terrible trap. It just sprung up through the floor.
And inserted itself.
Impaled out.
Yeah.
We've been impaled on Tanta's trap, unfortunately. Oh my God. So yeah, it's about inserting your mind or your consciousness into the form of these characters when you're creating them. And maybe also we might talk about the idea of doing that to characters you see on screen. What characters, or no, not on screen, but in stories and stuff like that, what characters you identify with. Okay, I think I got out of that one almost scot-free. Almost. But before we get into that, we'll have to read the featured comic. The featured comic was by... damn it, who did the featured comic? I was the one who bloody featured this comic, and I've forgotten who was the writer.
They're all the same to you, Oz.
They are. It all blends into one. The featured comic is Jonathan Quackup of the Planet Were-Alt. It's by Raytoons, and it's rated E, and it's a comic about what anthropomorphic characters, and I suppose there's a good clue in the name because it's called Were-Alt, so alternative were creatures. But it's not about that aspect, you know. They're like animal, human kind of characters, and they're on a world, and it's interesting. The story is
the art looks really good.
Cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, I'll explain that in the recording. So take it away, Ozone Ocean, with the recording. Go. Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and today's feature is Jonathan Quackup of the Planet Were-Alt. Jonathan Quackup has had a very adventurous life. There's battles, war, journeys, fierce warriors, hidden destinies, and even fishing. There's creatures of Planet Were-Alt are humanoid animals. They live in a series of rival warring communities. This is the story of how the legend of the great adventurer Jonathan Quackup began, as he was chased out of his home and moved to a new kingdom to start again with his family. Jonathan Quackup of the Planet Were-Alt is a fantasy story in the style of a biblical tale almost. There's a bit of David in there, a bit of Moses, a bit of Exodus. It's very interesting. Or even the story of King Arthur, or early tales of how, Genghis Khan rose to power. It's all there. It's a very historical kind of storytelling version of this fellow's life. It's an interesting fantasy, not something you normally get. The only thing that is different from a normal fantasy is the fact that these are humanoid animal creatures who make up the different tribes and different groups. It's a very entertaining story. Yeah, the art is very abstract throughout. It's very stylized, but it's pleasing. It's generally an interesting story to read. It can be a bit slow at times in that a lot of the pages are split up into sort of like only one or two panels, and there's only a little bit of story in between. And there's, well, not story, but a little bit of dialogue in between. And there's a large title image you have to scroll down past for all the pages, which can get on your nerves a bit. But it's quite a driving story. It, moves on at a pace. It starts out with a very long sort of version. It starts out with a very quick jumping into the action, and then after that, you're sort of led through the tales of Jonathan Quackup's beginnings and where he came from, his origin. And you sort of get into that as it goes, and then slowly the story advances. So it's quite an interesting story, well worth a check out. So have a look at Jonathan Quackup of the Planet Wereld, and this is by Raytoons, and it's rated E. Read it. And that was a recording. So, also we've got the featured music as well by Mr. Gum Wallace, and he's given us the music to Girl Squad X by Fallopian Crusader. Fallopian Crusader.
Still one of my favorite names on the Duck, man.
Yes.
It's that guy had some enormous fallopians to come up with that name. Some giant ovaries to come up with that name. Which he would be very pleased to hear, I'm sure. So, this tune it's a fun, techno, bouncing pop action tune, and it fits Fallopian Crusader's Girl Squad X, which is, if you want to read Girl Squad X, it's a very early comic by Fallopian Crusader. It's a very different style, and Fallopian Crusader is one of the most accomplished illustrators I've seen on the Duck. He's incredible. Even better than Iron Scarf. So it's interesting to see where he came from. Yeah, he's amazing. But
Iron Scarf's like, hey, I didn't do anything to you. No, I'm sure he takes it as a well, not as a compliment, but, like the opposite of a compliment. Like
an insult.
He's like the standard. He's like the golden standard by which Oz compares everybody. So.
Exactly. Iron Scarf is the gold. He is even better. He is the
Iron Standard.
The Iron Standard. Nothing better than iron. That's it. So yeah, it's a great piece of music, and Fallopian Crusader's Girl Squad X it's amazing to see where he came from, because his style isn't as amazing accomplished in there. It's still good, it's great, better than heaps of stuff, but it's interesting to see his earlier, more scratchier style. So, take it away, Gum Wallace. And that was the music by Mr. Iron Scarf. So now we're getting... No, not by Mr. Iron. You guys confused me. I confused me. It's by Mr. Gum Wallace. Let's see who did it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the character identifying phenomena.
I'm just not going to speak, and I'm just going to let you talk for a while, because this is fun.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the same. Like,
I'm tiptoeing around your damn words, Tances. It's so easy just to slip into that one. Just to slip it in.
Here he comes. Here he is. Here he is.
Oh man.
Resistance is futile.
Yes, so I suppository this thing. No, this particular subject. Perhaps, Tance, I'll let you give us a short précis of the whole idea, if you will, that you wrote out. Could you give us a little summary?
The idea that I was going for here is that when you are writing a story, and of course it has your main characters and your peripheral characters and your antagonists / villains and everything, that people usually focus, especially when we talk about fan fiction and the lesser kind of written creative word, which I don't think it should be considered that, but anyway, that the problem, a big problem in writing such stories arises when the author basically not just inserts himself in every connotation there is, but also basically proceeds to be super enthusiastic about it, and he basically projects an aspect, an exonerated, very very idealized version of who he is, or he or she, he would like to be.
Well, it's basically like masturbation. Like you just it's.
Yes.
The sole reason why you're doing this is for self-gratification, and there's only one way that you can really achieve it. So you're not really exploring these other rights. You just kind of take off your pants and you go at it, man. You go at it.
Basically, that's that. Yeah. And the story is the magazine that you do it to, and you don't really care to be nice to it and coax it and learn about its personality and help its personality grow.
Take it to dinner, or
That's exactly not what you usually go for when you do that kind of thing. However, this is the dark underbelly that nobody wants to admit ever having done, or ever having entertained the thought of, or engaged in. However, there's also the sunny side that's up, and
you okay? He's over there dying, man.
and that is when basically every other part of literature and creative writing and story making, whether that is in webcomics or in novels or in comics, print comics, or TV series or whatever, where you have a writer creating a world, and in it you have entities that interact with each other. However, in order to make these characters interact, you have to basically put yourself in their shoes in some manner.
Yeah.
All right. And think like they do, have their motivations, and act according to those motivations and that personality and that line of thinking, which basically is the self-insertion, but with a dinner before. Right. And that means that whatever happens afterwards still has parts of you in there. Okay.
Inside.
So that's basically the idea. Like every aspect, even the villain, has an imprint of you. Like it has your fingerprints.
It has your DNA. Is that what you're saying? You leave your DNA inside this character?
Yeah. Basically, if they all had the paternity / maternity test, they would all be yours. So, yeah, in some manner or other. Maybe not directly related, but 3, 4, 5, 7 times removed, still.
Your seed has been sown. Is that what you're saying? Your seed has been sown.
Yes, very widely.
All right.
So.
That was very
So
well
yeah, that's the
explained.
point. That was and that might, for some people might be even a bit scary, especially when they're writing, for example, something that involves a serial killer, and it's a serious villain, like not a joke villain, someone that's actually super scary. And what would that tell about yourself? And I have seen people really not want to go there and explore. So I just wrote that out because that was the only idea I had for last week.
It's cool. I love the picture of the character from this new Star Wars film. That's so cool with the Photoshop face on there. That's fantastic. Insertface.com.
The picture you had put up with the nose puss.
Oh yeah.
Nose puss.
Nose puss.
That was like the scariest thing I could whip up in a moment's notice. So
that is so cool.
You're welcome.
That was brilliant. Even the text down the bottom, insertface.com. That's so cool. But yeah, that is something. You walk in the shoes of your characters often. Even like, say, in my comic, I've got like CC, sort of an antagonist, sort of an evilish sort of character, sort of, and I give her feelings and motivations that I absolutely don't have. I make her the opposite of me, but when I'm writing dialogue and stuff for her and having her motivation, showing the way that she's going to respond to something, I have to walk in her shoes, or else, you can't write that from an outsider's perspective. You can create the character from an outsider's perspective, but you need to get inside them if you're going to make them talk. These puppets can't work by themselves. They need you to animate them.
Exactly.
So yeah, unfortunately, that has to happen. So I was thinking when I read this that no, I don't insert myself into those antagonistic characters. No, but then I realized, of course I do. I don't do it when I create them, but I have to do it when they're, I'm actually writing the comic, because you just have to. Yeah. What about you, Pitt? Do you? I think Bones would quite like that. Actually, he's that kind of.
I think he'd like the other way. He likes the other way.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, and certainly yeah. So yes, as you can see, yes, we are very much one of the same.
Very close.
I think, like you say, a lot of characters in Putrid Meat I haven't gotten that deep into, but if I did, you would see more of me in them.
Okay. Even X's?
To an extent, yeah. Like, it doesn't mean that you agree with their motives, obviously.
No, of course not. No.
But like, the way that the means you have them choose to express themselves and the way they speak and stuff, that comes from your mind, right? So even though you don't agree with the motives, the way they portray themselves comes from you. So yeah, everybody, it doesn't end up just a cardboard cutout, like a red shirt that's just there to fill space, has a degree of you in them. I'd say the one that I do it the most with actually is probably Blitzov.
Right, yeah, you can see that, because he's way more, even though he's a man of few words, and he seems like a bit of a potato in some ways, he's a much more deeper thinker than Bones and Tread, because he's not all based around reaction. He's actually thinking about things outside of himself, which these other characters don't do. So
and I think part of that is because his environment that he's in, I don't have a lot happen to Bunkuria. So like it has to be centered mainly around him and his character.
His internalized.
Rather than just like, this is happening, now do something. Now this is happening, now do something. Like he has to carry it. That's hard sometimes. I've never really written like that much. So
it's working well. And we've got some other characters here. Oh, Chance, what about you? Self-insertion. Your character. You mentioned in the text of like Raban, who's like totally unlike you completely, and maybe.
Well, he's unlike me in the way that he affiliates in the choices that he has made, like the life choices. But Raban especially, I wouldn't say that he's absolutely unlike me per se, in the sense that the fervor and the loyalty and the strength of belief that he has, deranged though it is, and he is an absolute monster in very real ways. Okay, but I do share that with him. I think that the one that I would be the most like opposite to me from the cast, as the cast is right now,
Orestes?
There are two people. Yeah, one would be Orestes for what is coming, not for now.
Yeah.
And the other would be, he's not a villain by the way. Well, I don't know, you will. And the other one is Bomb.
Oh, right.
Who is the second, the one that actually does the torture scene.
Yeah.
So these two are the ones that are on the other end of the spectrum to where I stand on pretty much everything, except very shallow things.
Yeah.
Shallow things.
Yeah.
And the ones that I identify the most with are very many. I don't think that there are characters in my story that don't represent some part of me in some manner. Even my darkest side is represented there. So, I do have, Basil is like the super ego, if you want to go Freudian or, in the core psychological tenets. And then you have my emotions are more in other characters. There are who?
Fotis and isn't Maria the sniper?
Fotis is more. I think that Fotis eventually, what he will become, will be closest to me. Like Blitzer is to Deidre. With me, it will be Fotis. That doesn't mean he won't die, guys. Okay.
He'll do a Game of Thrones,
but no, right now I think the one that I identify the most with as a person right now, at this point in time in the story, would be Father Yanis.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, because he's a protective kind of character. He has to tread a very fine line. Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, why would you say that you identify with him, Tanya? Why don't you explain why you think that's so?
Okay, because he...
If you want to, if that's not too personal, I mean... I like this sort of... I like these sorts of discussions anyway. Why? Because he's a strategist. Okay, we cannot see that yet, but I'm hoping that it will show in a little while. He has existential issues that he grapples with. He is extremely assertive, quote unquote, in what he wants and doesn't want to do. And he knows how to be low-key enough so that people don't notice him until it is too late in many things. I think that for now he comes the closest to an identification with me, mostly. So, because really nobody knows who and how many people or groups he's affiliated with. Like nobody suspects.
Tons.
Okay, and
you're letting
and
everyone in on the secrets now. Everybody will think, Tanserine, how many people is she affiliated? Oh.
There are no spoilers. There are no spoilers. There are more important spoilers. So, yeah, that's that.
That is a fascinating thing. So your comic is like a many faceted diamond of Tangerine simplified version. We can look through.
Yeah, not completely, but in a good extent. Yeah, because of course when you want to portray a situation, a social situation, you have to portray the social situation despite, who you want to be or whatever. But how people interact in that situation and how you choose to filter the whole thing through them, yeah, that's on you. So
I'm gonna write that down now, because I think that would be an interesting idea for the cover image. Although you have a great one so far, but for the Quackcast itself, a faceted diamond, a dark faceted diamond.
Tons of little Tange faces in it.
Yeah.
It's going to be like The Shining.
Yeah, there'd be some dancers with big handlebar mustaches and some dancers with lipstick, and it'll be cool. The many faces of Tangerine. But yeah, that's interesting idea. So you can look at someone's work, someone's creative work, like if there's multiple writers or just one writer or whatever, but especially if there's one writer, and you can look at all the characters and think, oh, that's a different part of the author, that's a different part of the author. That's always sort of struck me as weird when people do, come up with quotes and stuff and say, oh, as Shakespeare said, and you think, no, Shakespeare didn't say that. That was this character in this particular play, that you're taking it out of context. You can't really... The quotes of the characters, they do have some universal kind of application, but it was a character saying that in the character's voice. It wasn't Shakespeare saying that in his own voice. But, now you've sort of put it like, all the characters are a different aspect of you. That sort of puts a new light on it, that, yeah, those quotes are him in a way. I still think it, they're not directly...
I do think, though, that...
Go on.
In works where the author is or the creator is seeking to make a point, there are a couple of characters, or one, if he wants to make it easy, that are the author's mouthpiece, in a sense. Like, they carry the message that at least the creator, the author, wants to give you as an audience. And if you pinpoint those, then you could say, he said, the author said this or said that. Like, if you can pinpoint which characters are the ones that are the mouthpieces, or which one it is, and it's not necessarily always the good guy. It could be the villain. That the statements that the villain makes create a reaction, and that is the message that the author wants to show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even if it's meant to be taken as a negative thing, it's still intended by the author as something that he means, and whether he's meant to be portraying some kind of really negative thing, you're meant to sort of take that on board and say, oh yes, this is evil because this guy's explaining it to me why this thing is evil, and I agree with the author's intent in that thing, if that's not too abstract. But yeah, it's an interesting idea to me that you can look at a whole bunch of characters in someone's story and think, oh, that's that aspect of this person, that's that aspect of someone. Can you sort of think of any movies or books or anything like that?
I was actually just thinking of one, and you guys will know what I'm about to say before I say it, but the Iliad and the Odyssey. Homer uses all of those characters, and it doesn't matter whose side they're fighting on stuff, especially the Iliad. Yeah. You get pieces of his philosophy in almost every character in there. The only one I can think of is perhaps Paris, that doesn't, but even there's a few things that he says that tell you about, I mean, he doesn't get too deep on, but like every character in there, man, like there's no cut and paste character. Like, and that's not to say, and one character could do something really good one moment, and then the next moment do something not so good. You know what I mean? And it's just, Homer's so awesome at that, man. I love that book so much. And that's one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, even though we don't know whether Homer was the actual author or whatever, it's still perfectly right to refer to him as a person, because that's what we do with Shakespeare. That is the author, as far as we know, or that's the idea, the symbolic author of the stories. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get
Although if you read it, if you read through the Iliad, I find that it's really consistent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I'm not saying that it is one person, but I think it was probably one person.
Yeah. I would say that as well, but I'm Greek, so I could be construed to be biased. So
no, you're Greek, so you know for sure. Here we are, it's confirmed. Homer is one guy.
Tanya is Homer.
Yes, we're not supposed to say that. Yeah,
well, your beard gave it away.
Yeah. Damn it. So I have two examples, one serious and one not so much. And one is the Miserable, Les Miserables.
Yeah.
Where you find like every character from the most evil one and to the best one, who is Jean Valjean. You have Hugo's
his voice.
How do I say? His not only his voice. It's like it's a constant hammering in of society is for shit, basically. So it's a continuous decrying of pretty much all the aspects of the society as it was during during the Industrial Revolution, more or less, so to speak. So that is one, and you can see it, even though there are certain characters that are very much for society as it is, and others that aren't. But the whole cast contributes to the very same message to the reader. And for me, at least, when I was reading it, and I had a love-hate relationship with the book for many reasons. Mostly because I didn't like what happened to the characters. They were so vivid, and I really liked them. And okay, the biggest thing that bit that into my subconscious was the villain, or like what the villain did. And then I'm not talking about Javert, but Thénardier, because I think, in my opinion, at least, he is one of the actual villains in the story. So sometimes, the message comes from all around. And the second one is from the Hardy Boys, because when I was very young, I used to read the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, what's the other one? Don't remember. Anyway, all these pulp children's series, of whodunits and mysteries and stuff. I was very bored during the summer. So you can see the authors, and this is not a fan fiction, this is his creation. You can see him where he is in the story. He is one of the main characters, the author, and he is always right, always perfect. And the things that happen to him make him look more perfect, like all the time. So you can see him, and I was like 12, I think, when I was reading it, and I could see it then when I didn't even know what the self-insert was. So there's both ways.
yeah, and what you're saying in the introduction, sometimes people get too super self-inserty, and the characters are not only them speaking through the character, but they are the character. And as you said, the character is it's the Mary Sue idea. The character is so perfect, and everyone else in the story just exists to exalt their praises, and all the situations exist to make them look better than they really are, and to show how fantastic and wealthy and lucky and beautiful and handsome and clever that they are.
Yes, exactly.
Which you'd never want to do in a story. Your character always has to have some kind of level of real, because we hate those characters. I mean, as a little kid, you might enjoy that. Maybe young kids might, because you as a reader will self-insert yourself into that character, the protagonist, and you think, wow, I really want this character to succeed, and it's fantastic. Everything that's happening, it's great. But as you get slightly older, you don't appreciate that anymore. You know life isn't like that, and you start to think, I really hate this bastard.
Actually, now that you say it, I remember that the first couple of books I was super enthusiastic. Wow, so clever, so amazing. By the third book, I was saying, okay, I'm waiting for him to make a mistake.
Yeah.
By the fourth book, I was waiting for him not only to make a mistake, but to have a disaster. And then I read the entire series looking for the one single book where he messes up, not to say it in the worst way. So, and he never did. So, but that got me writing it though, because I sat down and wrote a story where he actually messes up for my personal satisfaction.
So you wrote some actual positive fan fiction. You didn't go down the normal route and make the character better than ever. You actually fixed it. That's pretty good. No wonder you're a writer. That's how proper writers are born, by doing that kind of thing rather than the other. Yeah. I've never thought about doing that. Because, normally you think, I'm going to fix this character by making him better. By making him a half-elf vampire hybrid. And everyone loves him for it. And they don't even know why. It's going to be called Twilight times 10, man. 50 Shades of Twilight. Best fan fiction ever. That is something you have to watch out for. I don't think since I was little, I've never written a story with those better than ever characters. But it is funny, people who reach adulthood still write characters like that. You think, how? Come on, guys, grow out of that. That's not what we do. You don't.
Well, I don't know. I think it's like comfort food.
Yeah.
So you're eating junk food, but you still like it. So I don't personally have a problem with it, unless it's like Twilight and everyone goes batshit insane with it. But it's nice. It's an indulgence. You go into this fantasy land where everything is perfect. So why not?
It can be good. It can be annoying, but it can be good. And
you don't have to pretend to have awesome tastes and everything all the time. It's okay. just don't make it the basis of your whole. Do attempt to grow. Sometimes, do be a Tanya. Do be a Tanya.
Aspire to be a Tanya. Aspire. But and if you want to aim it at children, they do really appreciate that kind of stuff. So that works.
Or who the hell are we to tell you what to do? If this is what you love to do and you're just doing it for you, fuck what we say. Just do what you want to do.
But I suppose the thing is, if you're writing for a bigger audience, or if you want to get people to like your stories.
Yeah, then you got to do what we're telling you to do. Do everything we say.
Yes.
unless you write Twilight.
Yeah.
Then
and that will work. Or you're writing for little kids, because they really love that. Think about some kids things. I mean, Thundercats. The main character Lion-O is, if you watch that as an older person, you start to think, everything about this character is just pathetic and silly. But as a child reading it, not reading it, but watching it, you think, wow, Lion-O is fantastic. He started out as a little kid, he got transformed as some kind of adult lion thing, and he becomes this superhero with a sword. That's so cool. But as an adult, you think, oh my, this is just weird.
I don't know. I always like Tigra better myself.
Well, so Tigra's a smart one.
Yeah.
I always
I thought that Chitara was the one that was the smartest.
Was she? Tigra was the guy.
No, there was like a scientist kind of guy. Like she was smart, but then there was like a sciencey, techie kind of guy too, wasn't there? Like
that was Tigra.
It was like Tigra, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Tigra. Yeah.
He was the one with the tank all the time.
No, that was.
He always was in the.
That was Panthro.
The
Panthro was the. See, I know all this stuff. I haven't watched this since I was like 13 or something.
No, Tigra was the annoying guy that always tried to correct Lionel. Maybe that's why. That's why I identified with him so much.
No, then you would like that Snarfle guy or whatever. The little guy. That's you, Tanya. There you go. Oh, now we know.
I always went for Panthro because he had the cool tanks and he was a very self-sufficient. He was more self-sufficient than all the other characters. Every time he would pull other characters out of the crap, he'd always, come in his tank and fix everything for everybody.
I was Mumra all the way, man. Mumra.
Actually, I liked him a lot as a villain. He was one of my favorite childhood villains, Mumra.
Yeah.
But he was, gritty and scary, and he could become this huge monster. But he was also this really creepy, frail, but conniving little thing, and amazing. I really liked him.
This brings up something else now that I think of. I mean, we're choosing the characters that we liked or identified with the most in this kid cartoon, and that happens a lot in different kid cartoons actually that involve a team. You always find like almost the same dynamics. There's the smart one, there's the handsome one, and the athletic one, and the Power Rangers did it, Sailor Moon did it. They always do it, man, and that's because they're these flat characters, right? But there's enough of a difference among them to where the individual person could identify with them. So like, I guess that's one way that you could think of going around it. I mean, it's not I myself don't think it's the most ideal thing, but maybe you could work some really cool things with it. I mean, everybody has their own Sailor Scout that they identify with, and so it's like, why not? I don't know. Why not, man? Go for it.
You're obviously Sailor Mercury all the way.
I'm Sailor Uranus. Actually, she is one of my favorite ones, man. She is one of my favorite ones, but I also just like to say it, Sailor Uranus. It just worked out. Huh?
Yeah, you self-insert yourself into Uranus. That's perfect.
Oh yeah, but you were right though. With Steven Universe does it too, man. Like but they've got a little bit deeper characters. Like the more you watch, like the more they kind of get unpacked a little bit. Like it doesn't put it like in your face. The first 2 episodes that the character is there, everything about them. It's the opposite, man. Like it's a slow burn. Like when I first started watching it, dude, I didn't really get into it. But then like you keep on with it, you get connected with it, you learn more about it, and like you grow this deeper relationship with it. So I don't know.
Definitely. So which one would you be in Steven Universe? Have you thought about
it? I have actually. I realized this when I was drunk one day. So I would be all right. So rapey tendencies aside, I think I would be, and I think I would be Jasper, which sounds really bad because she's all like, she would be like the closest thing there to like almost a Nazi, well, fuck you and your fusions, your weak fusions, and I am the superior one. But no, like what I think they're definitely angling that there's more to this character because she tries so hard. She wants to be this thing, this ideal. She has something that she wants so badly, but she can't fucking get it. And that's why she is the way she is. And it's just like, and something happened in the past. They keep on alluding to it, that like something between her and Rose Quartz, and Tiny's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But like, I think there's just more to this character. Like she's found that she does like this fusion thing now, and she needs more of it. And it's like she's reaching for something, but then at the same time, she's just so fucking tough and like she just needs to be like I don't know. I everyone is a little bit of something, I think, but I'm curious to see more how she turns out because that little part of her I kind of connect with, and I want to see her succeed and become better because of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. In that show, for me, it's Greg Universe who I identify with.
Dude, totally!
I love that character.
Oh, he's so sweet, man.
Yeah, he wants to help out, and he's got cool hair, sort of.
He's just some loser that lives in a van, like some kind of like this deadbeat dad, you know. Like he does the best for his kid, but like he just kind of sucks at like this society life thing, and.
But he just wants the best for people, you know. He just wants the best for Steven, and he doesn't want to get in people's way, which I like. You know, it's a good character, and he's happy for others to take the lead. You know, if that's what it takes, and you know, just to be a rock, which I think is such a really cool character. So that's mine. You know, and of course, you have to identify with what's her name, Garnet. Of course.
Oh, she's so cool, man. I love Garnet.
So powerful.
And she's got that cool, like British black girl accent that's really strong. Stoic.
Exactly. Tom, it's your mission to get on board with Steven Universe so you get all our pop
I know. I have to do it. At some point.
Oh, dude, she's a pearl. She's totally a pearl, isn't she? She's a total pearl.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. I like Pearl. I like all of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Shut up, Deidre.
Not just for the intelligence, but Pearl's an awesome fighter. So
yeah, absolutely. She's like got that. She's got a background to her too, man. Like she's. I don't know. I suppose I won't make this the Steven Universe cast, so I'll just stop now. But
it's a good show. I love it,
but it goes in with kind of what we were saying. I don't know.
Self-insertion of a many-faceted diamond. It is. It's a gem.
And that's self-insertion with, and instead of, I'm sure that the author inserts herself in a lot of the characters, but that is, I think we had mentioned before how an audience can insert themselves into a character. And so there you go. That's the perfect example of that.
It is. It's magnificent. Should we mention some other pop culture things that people will be able to identify with? Because I know that helps us relate to our audience rather than just talking about our own comics and things that we talk about a lot.
Identify with our audience. Yeah.
What about Batman? People love him. He's super popular.
Okay, Batman.
Absolutely. I've never read a Batman. Well, I might have when I was little. I'm not sure. But I've seen all the films. Well, no. I've seen some of the films.
No, I have. I have read Batman, and
yeah,
I think that, especially if you couple Batman with Superman and their collective surrounding characters, I think that one of the appeal for Batman especially is that he is a superhero without being superpowered. So basically, he's much more like he has a shorter distance from the audience that are not superpowered. Yeah. Of course, his superpower, one could say, is money. So I don't know how that presents a barrier or not. But if we set that aside, because in many occasions, lots of characters have things, and like if we had to put a price tag in everything, nobody would be able to afford anything, and the story wouldn't be made. But
yeah.
Assuming now that the money issue isn't an issue, you have Batman who is someone that is very flawed. He definitely has some kind of PTSD going there, and of course he has issues with his self-identification in terms of whether he is a proper son or not. I mean, if you go into his parameters, So he's a flawed character. He doesn't have any superpowers. He has to constantly make moral choices, and he always somehow prevails. So you have a character that anyone can project themselves to, especially when, feeling that you are presented with a lot of very rising odds and that would need the superpower, but you have to deal with it the best way you can. So he's like a template, I think, more than anything, for people to project their own parameters on, one way or the other.
That's a good way of putting it, yeah, because you have so many people who wear the Batman mask, and they have pictures of themselves in the Batman mask, and people say, I'm Batman, and they that has become a pop culture thing, that people look at themselves as Batman, and they love the idea that Batman is some kind of super detective who can beat any foe because he outthinks them, and they find that incredibly attractive. I don't know this firsthand because I haven't, gone into the comics myself, but that is the impression I get, that he's a super detective and he can beat anything.
I think, that definitely is a thing. I personally haven't really seen it, honestly. Like, he punches his way to a solution more than anything else. But yeah, it is a part of his persona, and yeah, people definitely consider him to be the best detective ever.
Yeah, best comic book detective. No Sherlock Holmes. But Sherlock Holmes is another character people project themselves on. But yeah, that's current pop culture, isn't it? Because people are still doing, TV shows with Benedict, Cabbage Patch, and yes, Boney Dick Cumberbatch, that's his name.
Sherlock Holmes one could say that he's like a predecessor of Batman. Like, he doesn't actually go around in a batsuit, but he does put on a lot of disguises, and that completely changed him.
Yeah.
And it's not like a silly disguise, like he just, puts on a mustache or anything. When he wants to transform himself to be able to go and find the clue that he's looking for, he does. So there's that. He has definitely some kind of issue in his past. He probably has some kind of issue in his present, either with addiction or with being basically an anthropophobic person. So you do have the flawed part of the character, like the psychological problems and everything, and he is extremely smart. And he also has a sidekick that is doing the human part for him. He's like warmer, has proper reactions in everything. He represents, I think, the audience.
Yeah, he's
and so they can follow him around in the story easily.
So do you think Watson is more the audience? Especially as stories.
What was that? You're getting a lot of feedback, man.
Yeah, it's not through mine. Must be Tance. It's all you, Tance. Jesus.
It's always me. Of course it's me.
Well, I was just thinking, so the way Sherlock Holmes is written is that Watson is, as you said, the audience insert, because the stories are often told. I don't know if they're always told from Watson's point of view, but the ones I've read have been. And yes, so you've got that distance already. So you're slightly distanced from Sherlock Holmes. You're meant to look at him as, something else, something other. You can identify with him, but you have to make an extra leap, because you're meant to identify with Watson, and Watson is Mr. Normal. He gets married to women and leads a life as a doctor, He's a normal person, a middle-class guy, whereas Sherlock Holmes is like some weird aristocratic hermit, strange Superman, intellectual god of a character. And on the topic of authors inserting themselves into characters and becoming characters and that revealing different parts of themselves. So we've got Sherlock Holmes, and people often think, oh, Conan Doyle was like Sherlock Holmes, he must have been smart. But we know that Conan Doyle wasn't such a super genius because he believed in fairies and that he could talk to his mum through mediums and all sorts of weird things like that. So he had.
Well, I don't know about that because Tesla was a super genius and he thought that pigeons were talking to him. So,
but what I'm saying is, there was different sides of him. Conan Doyle was not Sherlock Holmes. He was a more nuanced person. And say I've read Brigadier whatever it is, Brigadier something or other. This was another series that he wrote directly after Sherlock Holmes. Brigadier Gerard, I think it is. And that character is the polar opposite of Sherlock Holmes. He is a French military officer. He is a tall, muscular guy who can ride horses and, sword fight and shoot, and totally physical. He's got the brain of a newborn chicken. He's as dumb as crap. And he wins everything that happens to him. He wins all the situations by sheer dumb luck. He just bumbles into solutions and wins his way to the top. And after reading a Sherlock Holmes story and then reading this one, it's very hard to sort of think, wow, this is written by the same guy? Is this... I mean, you can't think, well, Conan Doyle inserted himself into one character and, that must be him. Whereas, is he this character as well? Is he a dumbass as well as, a super genius? So there's different sides to people, aren't there? It's quite varied. That was my learning point. Go on.
You could have another, aside the part of actually having, viewing parts of your personality in all the different characters, there is another thing that personally I also do consciously. You put yourself in a character, not because they are part of you in terms of personality, but because you want to see through their point of view. It increases, it's like going to another vantage point and forcing yourself to think and act in the way that they would, as a personality with the parameters that they have and blah, blah, blah. Which is what I do with most of my Nazis in my story. So it's an exercise in knowing your enemy, I guess. But the idea is that maybe he was exploring such a personality, such a person.
He was a super genius, but he was just lowering himself for this French military officer.
No. I think that he would also explore the super genius because it's not very hard to not be a super genius but write one. Yeah. Because you already have the answers. Although the super genius, finds the answer, you have them already.
That's
so
true.
You are not required to solve the problem. Okay, so you can write a super genius without being one.
That's true.
So I think that he would be exploring both polar opposites.
He's inserting himself into both ends.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Especially to say exactly because I think that he tried to kill Sherlock Holmes and then he got the audience put almost misery on him like in the movie and they told him to bring him back or else. So maybe he wrote the other series just to
spite them. Is that what you say?
Yeah.
That was his fucking character.
Okay, you like your super genius? Here is a dumb joke as well.
And why would you just want to recreate the efforts that you've already done too? You do something for so long, you want to try something different afterwards. It happens with so much. It happens in music. It happens in comics, TV. And the only reason to really keep on doing the same thing is because it keeps selling. But then after a while, there's just no heart in it.
Yeah, the passion goes. That's true. So you want to try something else. I think that was part of the reason. He killed Sherlock Holmes and he went straight to doing Brigadier Gerard as a comedy, because that's what he wanted to do now. He was sick of doing intellectual kind of stuff, and for all these fans who were loving it way too much, and then he wanted to do a lighter comedy and make a kind of a popular comic character, but it never worked. Nobody liked it. So he had to go back to doing what sold. Poor guy. You can be a slave to your character. We can have that in another Quackcast, I think. Becoming a slave to your character, keeping on doing it even when you don't like it. So many bands get stuck in that, and so many authors. But that's for another Quackcast in the future. All right, I think we've covered this topic pretty well. Any final thoughts, people? My super geniuses that I have Quackcast with. All right. Yeah, self-insertion, that is an important thing from both doing it as an author, putting yourself into your character so you can make them speak and act and think in realistic ways or ways that would make sense. And also as an audience member, you like to do that as well. And as a reader, as a writer, you have to realize that the audience are going to self-insert. And so you can design around that. You can make your characters appealing for that kind of thing. If you're doing it for a younger audience, make it more perfect, or for something that's an older audience, you have stories like Bridget Jones' Diary that's written in a certain way that's very much a self-insertion character for adults, for that a demographic that she was aiming for. What's that?
She's a Mary Sue. She's a Mary Sue.
She is a bit of a Mary Sue. All characters like her in spite of the thing, but it's meant to be that way because it's for that kind of audience that wants that kind of life, and they're going to live through it, and that's a classic example. So yeah, you do it for your audience. You write a character that way, and you become enormously successful. So do it the right way, yeah. And as Pitt said before, do what you want. Don't just do what I tell you. Do it for joy, for the love of it, for whatever makes you feel that you want to keep creating. It's a good message to leave people with. All right. Well, this has been Quackcast 299. Thank you guys for coming along. You were fantastic. Brilliant value as
you
always.
Were ozone.
I was. All right.
You were great. You was great. Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.